2, 1. We're live. It's 5. Good afternoon. Hello. Happy Tuesday, everyone. It is time for a little bit of Live at 5 here on Coaching the Man. And again, a week has passed. And it is day 9 of Movember. So how is your Mo growing? I swear I look back on videos and pictures of myself in 2020 and think, it was longer. So maybe I'm slow growing, the Mo growing this year. Or maybe I need to water it more. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, hope you're enjoying Movember, enjoying all the posts, enjoying all the positivity. I've been filming and recording and speaking lots about testicular cancer with people today. And today on Live at 5 is no different. I have a lovely guest waiting to join here on Live at 5, and I'm really excited about it because not only do I follow and admire his work, but we go way back into the past. I mean 10 plus years probably since the last time we were like in the same room, and I'm really excited about this chat. So I'm gonna ask George to join us. If you just request to join, George, I will let you in. He is a Pilates instructor, and I think you should all just follow his page because it's really inspiring and insightful. And I'm going to find more about Bodybarre, which I absolutely have no idea what it does, but I've seen videos and it looks fun. Hi.
Hey, that was an introduction. I'll take that any day.
It was. It's so lovely to see you.
You too. You too. Been so long.
I was just trying to think, when was it that we last seen each other? It was Mallorca, wasn't it?
Yeah. So it's got to be like 12 years ago.
Oh, I was talking in a school today with students who were like 3 when I left school. So talking to people you haven't spoken to in a while is really odd.
I know, it's crazy. Honestly, I saw some of your videos from today and I was like, oh man, things like that do make you feel really old.
Don't they?
Yeah, and then like you, I was thinking, like, when was the last time that I actually saw David? And I was like, man, that was so long ago.
Yeah,
was so long
it really
ago.
was. And I think it's odd because you feel like you know somebody, especially when you follow their work. And I've been following your account for a while now, and I feel like we're just friends because I just see your stuff all the time.
Yeah, no, exactly the same. I think I started following your account maybe a couple of years ago now.
Yeah.
I think we've always kind of been on Facebook and to and fro and stuff. And it's crazy how, I don't know, social media kind of keeps people intrinsically linked at some level, don't they? And you kind of think, I know what's going on in their world a little bit.
Yeah, and this is what I love. When you meet somebody that you haven't seen in a while and you walk up to them and they start telling you things that you've been up to, you're like, how do you know this? And you forget.
Oh yeah, I put my life on Insta.
Exactly. And we do, but you and I both do very similar things in a sense that we're promoting positive health a lot of the time, whether you're talking about mental health or whether you're talking about your business, which is a lot about fitness. So can I ask, what brought you into the fitness world? Was it something you were always interested in?
No, to be honest, no, not really. Something I really fell on my feet with. So after, our time when we knew each other way back in yesteryear, I came back and started just working at a resort, and somehow someone suggested that I might want to do my ETM, like an exercise to music qualification. I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, let's do it. So I did that, and then that was kind of the ball started rolling then. So been doing it literally the whole time now since I've been 20, really, 20, 21, something like that. And so it started from there, and I think it takes a while to kind of find your niche and realize, what you really want to focus on, because there's so many things that you can do in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only kind of echo that in a sense that when I started coaching, that I was like, okay, yeah, I want to help everybody. And then suddenly you're like, no, wait, I need to find that one person that I'm focused on. And finding Coaching the Man was just like, it was like just this light bulb moment. And you're like, now it makes sense. But I have to say, right, I have to ask you, because I know you do Pilates and I've never done it. I've always been like, oh, I'm yoga. I prefer yoga. So what is better about Pilates? Convince
What's
me.
better?
Yeah.
Oh, kind of opening the age-old argument, are we? We're opening that can of worms.
Why not?
I don't know. For me, Pilates gives me that a kind of moving meditation. So I think for yoga, people automatically go more into that meditation in terms of stillness, if you
Mm,
like. Okay,
yeah.
so you're kind of much more mind connected. And
Yeah.
for me, Pilates is much more kind of a moving kind of way to focus in on yourself and focus in on your body. It can be full of energy, it can be powerful, it can be full of strength and challenge, but the whole time your mind is focused on you and what you are doing and where you are in space, and your focus is on just solely that moment in time, rather than, I think sometimes, again, apologies to the yogis out there. I love you really. But I think sometimes meditation, when I've done yoga, they take you to different visualizations, they take you to different places, they try to create different mind spaces that are
Yeah.
sometimes a better place to be. Where I think actually Pilates for me is about owning it. It's like, this is my body and this is what I can do and this is the space I'm in. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, Pilates can be many different things depending on who your teacher is and what style you teach, but
Yes.
that's what it is for me, really.
Cool. I just always thought they were a little bit like Aldi and Lidl. They're very similar, but yet they're different.
But no, the question there would be, what's in the middle?
Yeah.
So, um, in the middle of Lidl.
Yeah.
No, I think there's a lot of crossovers, and I think they're very complementary to each other. I just think they appeal to different types of people, really. And I think you kind
Yeah.
of just have to, if something resonates with you and you love yoga, then just keep doing yoga. It's
Yeah.
awesome. I've got so many friends that are yoga teachers and people
Yeah.
that go to yoga. And the same with Pilates. And if you like both, do both,
Yeah.
because it's all good.
I absolutely, I would go to a class, whether it was something I'd never tried before or whether it was something I'd done, because every time you do it, it's a different instructor. It gives you something different that you probably don't do. And like, my yoga practice is very much about me at home. So when I go out to classes, I prefer to do something like spin or something like Pilates or something different that I can't do in the comfort of my own home.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think that with Pilates as well, you go into a different avenue when you start talking about the apparatus in Pilates and the equipment in Pilates. So I kind of think everyone goes straight into that mat class kind of area when they talk
Yeah.
about yoga and Pilates. And I think the kind of thing with Pilates is, yeah, the mat's amazing, but when you start looking at the wider system and you start looking at I'm going to talk some random words now, but things like the reformer and the towers and the wonder chairs and the small barrels and the ladder barrels, and there's so many pieces of like spring-loaded resistance equipment that totally changes kind of the way you probably even think about Pilates, never mind actually even doing it.
So is that, you put a video up of you the other day on what looks like something from Frankenstein?
Slidey table, big tower,
Yeah.
looks a bit weird. Yeah, so that's a reformer. So most people who do Pilates or are familiar with the equipment will know what a reformer is. So the reformer is like the most well-known thing. It's called a universal reformer. But yeah, exactly. So that's like the perfect example. If you want to know what it is, go to my grid and look at the last post.
Yeah, it's highly entertaining watching you use it, I have to say. And what is Bodybarre? Is it Bodybarre?
So it's Bootybarre.
Bootybarre.
Booty
Even
bar,
better.
yeah. Yeah, it's all about booty. So Bootybarre was actually, so I'm actually really glad you asked this. So
Okay.
Bootybarre was the main reason that I went into Pilates. That's how I found Pilates. That's how I kind of, my world got exploded and turned upside down, and why I now own my own studio. So Bootybarre, I started doing some classes with a friend of mine. She was the UK master trainer. I sent in my video to be an instructor. The guys in America saw my video and like, oh my God, this guy's kind of fun. Maybe we should ask him to be a master trainer. So then that led to couple of trips over to LA where I did training over there with the team, and and then I deliver the courses here. I deliver all the courses, but as part of that, you have to be a Pilates teacher because there's a big Pilates element to the class format. So that was the reason I initially went and did my mat Pilates qual. And now it's kind of like led me down this road. And actually, Tracy, the person who owns the company, she's amazing. She sent me a message the other day, which was so lovely. She sent me this message and just said, George, I'm just so proud of what you've made since we last saw each other. And I was just like, and actually, it's all because of that trip to meet her and teach her program.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I love that, and everybody needs to hear that sometimes. Like, you know, you need to be told and recognized for the hard work you're putting in to create something, and that's really nice. Mike here, you probably know this guy. Mike has said, George, what a legend, full of life and energy.
Mike, I want to know which Mike.
Mike Jarvis. No?
Ah, cool. Mikey, amazing. Yeah, love that. So
all of this fitness and all of your basic business feeds into obviously keeping you fit and well, but also helping you with your own mental health, which of course is a lot about what we try and promote a lot of the time. And if you're brave enough to talk about your own struggles or anything like that, then it's great to see that people use fitness and movement not only just to keep physically fit, but to keep mentally fit. So has that helped you over the course of all the years you've been doing it? And has there been a time when you've struggled?
So I have to say that the main thing that I would say is it's been my one constant. So if I think back over all of, you know, since I was 20, the whole time I've been teaching, it's been a constant in my life. It's the one thing I know I'm probably going to do every day, whether I'm teaching it or doing it for myself. And I think having that something that's your thing, whether it's your thing because you want to go and feel better, or maybe it's your thing because you want to share some energy and some vibes. Maybe, like, I think a lot of the time, I think what people who attend sessions don't realize is that you actually bounce with their energy. They actually give you life, and they give you energy, and they give you a lot of, for want of a better word, a purpose, a kind of reason to show up. And I think a lot of the time we need a purpose and a reason to show up. And for me, I think because it's been that constant throughout my adult life, really, it's been the one thing that's kind of kept me on a good level kilter. It's stopped me from stooping too low and stopped me from rising too high. And I kind of think about, you know, times when I know other business owners you'll probably kind of get this as well. I think there are times when stress becomes a real factor, when you become aware that you're pulling back from people, when you become aware that you need a bit more alone time than you probably should have, but you kind of feel like you do need it. And I think fitness, not just teaching it, but being a part of that, if you attend classes, it's something that gives you that reason to be around people, even if you don't necessarily want to be around people. And it gives you a reason to go do something, even if you don't necessarily want to go do something. And I think once you've done it, once you've been there, you leave feeling, okay, maybe you don't feel like, oh my God, I feel amazing now, but you definitely leave feeling like you've ticked a box. Is probably the best example. You can say, I did that today. Yeah. And I think
celebrate it.
Yeah, and just be kind of really like pat on the back. I went and did that today. For me, okay, I woke up and I'm having a rough few days and stuff's getting on top of me, and I mean anxiety is a bit of a thing for me. And I can kind of say it's cool because I went out and I taught your classes this morning, and then I
Yeah.
went and did a CrossFit session. So tick, tick, tick. I'm still knocking stuff off for that day, and I can give myself a pat on the back and be like, okay, so we're moving forward still.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
love
think
that you found that really early and it became a constant quite early in your 20s, because I think what happens is that sometimes people will come to me, or maybe you will find that clients come to you and they've just discovered it that little bit too late, so you're almost trying to catch up with yourself. So to know that you found it and it's always been that constant in your life and you've identified it very early must be must be really positive. And talking about like feeling accomplished and feeling like you've had a mini win in the day, I've had a few conversations, certainly a lot more recently as the world opens up, with people coming in and feeling like there's a to-do list so large, and it's about realizing that, you know what, if you give something 20 minutes and you achieve that 20 minutes, that even if that's all you do in that day, you can feel like you've walked away from it and gone, I only promised myself I'd do 20 minutes and I did it. Some days you'll do an hour, but if you give yourself the promise of an hour and you only do 20 minutes, then you'll naturally feel like you underachieve. So
yeah,
it's about giving yourself these small little tasks and going, yeah, that's a celebratory thing. That's something I can go, that was an achievement in my day. Like you said,
yeah.
tick, tick, tick.
And I found as well, again, you might have heard this from the people that you talk to, but I found as well, people have weirdly, kind of weirdly, bizarrely for me, lost that kind of priority to themselves a little bit,
Right.
which to me seems a little bit, given that we had a lockdown and we spent a lot of time on ourselves, like well, I suppose for me, I was able to go like running every day. I never have time to go running every
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah.
And like,
Yeah.
and I was able to train when I wanted to train, and I could just, you know, do things that I really felt nourished me through lockdown. And that for me was like a massive win. And you know, I like to think other people felt that, but now we've come out the other side. For me, there's a lot of people that I talk to that have gone flying into life, and actually there's more stress now with life, and you kind of, I find myself having the same conversation of, you know, this time is for you. Like you need to make this somewhere near the top of your list.
Yeah.
Somewhere near the top of what I'm going to tick today is have that time for me. If I
Mm.
do 10 minutes of, you know, a leg slums and tums class on YouTube in my lounge, then at least I had that 10 minutes because I wanted to make sure I did something that was nourishing for me. And I didn't just spend my day waking up, sorting out the book bags, putting the lunches together, ferrying the kids to school, going to work, working all day, going picking the kids back up from school, getting them to after school clubs, going home, cooking dinner, putting a load of washing on, and then thinking, oh God, I haven't got time to go to class now. And I kind of think like, wow, like let's unpack that. Let's kind of revisit that. How can we manage that better? How can we say, okay, you don't need to make it to class, but you can absolutely smash 10 minutes out on a mat in your living room, like,
Yeah,
and still feel good. And I think
absolutely.
people
Yeah.
have I think life has gone like from 0 to like 1,000,000, and people are actually struggling to mentally and physically keep up with that in a lot of ways at the moment. And I kind of feel like it's just, you know, nudging and pointing in the right direction is the best thing to do right now.
Yeah. I think the when I was very lucky as well in lockdown when it all started, I had just had this awareness that I was like, okay, I'm just gonna get up every day. I'm gonna do this, this, and this. And I was actually like you, working out so much, that was they were like my pillars in the day. So I would start with yoga in the morning, then I would have a walk in the midday, and then I would cheekily go out a second time when we weren't supposed to for a run, but I'd be moving quite quickly. Nobody would notice. And then like later on that night, then like you might do a little bit of meditation, a little bit of journaling. And then by that, like I have taken all of that time, which probably accounts to about 2.5 hours in like a 16-hour day, which there was a lot of time to fill in between that. As well as like, you know, I did have my business and stuff, but
Yeah.
that was all me. And I think what happened was when I had created that basis for myself, that those were my non-negotiables. Those were every day I'm going to do this. And of course, like having an amount of time in the day to do everything, then yes. But if you peel it back and you go, okay, normal life is resuming, well, I just have to add that into my diary. And if I can't do the things that I know make me feel good, then I need to maybe get up earlier. I need to manage my time better, or I need to, you know, make sure I prioritize it before I go to bed. So it is about trying to not add fitness to your life or add movement to your life, but add your life to that.
Yeah, and I think like you've hit the nail on the head there. I think it's actually like it is literally reframing it. It's kind of saying like, okay, now I know how good that made me feel, or now I know how much I relied on that, or now I know how much I enjoyed having that time for myself.
Yes.
Because I don't want to let that go. And I think, you know, that's not, I don't think that's selfish, and I don't think that's silly, and I don't think that's a crazy thought process. I think that's something that people should think, okay, cool, I love that. So I'm just going to like chuck that up my priority list and maybe, you know, drop something down a little bit. And I just feel like it's a possibility for everyone. And it's just finding a way that it works. And that, all right, that's challenging and that's hard and that's scheduling and it's all the things that you just talked about. But it is possible. It's absolutely possible.
I love that you say reframing, because we talk a lot about that in coaching, to flip the script, to reframe it. How can we look at it differently? Because sometimes the old way you look at something is not helping you. So I imagine you have very similar situations when it's more direct towards fitness, changing somebody's view of it, changing how they visualize it, how they see it, how it comes up in their life, and changing it from being something that's an additional something that you add on that's like, oh, I have to do this, rather than something that you're really excited to do and you can't wait to do that, and everything else goes on top of that. So it sounds like there's very similar. There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah, and I think actually, like, just touching on something else, and feel free to stop me, but just touching on something else is when I actually have more conversations on a regular basis with clients when we're talking about, I generally will see people who've got something wrong. So they'll have like a back pain, they'll have back pain, or they'll have an injury, or, you know, they're coming back from something, or, there's always a niggle. And a lot of the time I find myself actually kind of going, okay, we need to step back from like, you've got a sore back, and you've got a sore back because, you know, you think this muscle is strange, or you think this vertebrae is bulging. And we actually need to go right back to basics and say, how much sleep are you getting every night? And they kind of stop. And I have a thing called, I heard a while ago called SNAP. So like, how much sleep do you get? And then what's your nutrition like? Okay, so what are you eating? What's your diet like? Let's talk about processed sugars, blah, 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 blah. What's your alcohol intake like? How regularly are you having a drink? You know, is it a nightly thing? Is it a bi-nightly thing? Is, you know, so sleep, nutrition, alcohol, physical activity. What movement are you already doing? Because what you find a lot, and there's a lot of research out at the moment regarding pain management. Something I'm reading a really interesting book at the moment by a friend of, well, I say a friend, a social media friend, who's written a book. It's going to publishing soon, and he's asked me to cast eyes over it. And there's so much research at the moment that actually a lot of pain comes from a psycho, what's the word? No, it's escaped me, it's gone. But a lot of it comes from the way that you're feeling, the way that you're treating your body, the basics. Okay, and it comes back to inflammation in the body. So when I talk about reframing a lot, actually I talk to clients a lot about, we need to talk differently about why you're in pain. We need to talk differently about why that feels hard. Okay, and we need to kind of actually put our mind somewhere else, because, you know, all injuries heal and all things get better. And at some point that injury is no longer injury, but you're still in pain. So why is that?
Yeah.
So
and movement helps as much as it you know, your back hurts when you move, but also not moving doesn't help either. So I think a similar one that I've used before is meds, and it's meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the diet refers to not just what you're eating, but what you're
You're
taking
digesting
in.
generally. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
information. But it's great. It's so great to have that view that you have, and how we can change our reframe, or change the way we look at not just exercise, but how it impacts our mental health, and how our mental health impacts how much exercise we do. And it's just this real, like, I don't know, this machine. It's a self-feeding machine. Like, this controls the exercise, which then that makes this feel good. And it's a very important message to put out there. And it's so great that there's more to fitness nowadays than lift that really heavy thing and be really strong and run really fast. It's actually more about the movement of the body, more so than just how quick it is or how strong it is.
Yeah. It's such a thrown around term now, but it really is just well-being. You know,
Yeah.
that they sit together, they kind of sit in harmony. You know, if you're physically well, you're probably more likely to be mentally well or mentally stronger, and vice versa. If you can get your mental health in a great place, then you'll probably find it easier to get your physical health in a good place. And I think, and they come together, they build together. They don't just kind of sit up here and down here, not unless you're kind of an athlete, you know. But then, you know, how many people are athletes that we talk to, you know, work training in the Olympics? Not very many. That's a different kettle of fish. When we're talking about everyday people, those two things, they kind of love together, and they work together, and they build each other up. And I think it's building some sort of routine about that as well. And I feel like that's hard for people, right? Like, just with just life generally, not even like anything to do with COVID or lockdowns or anything. So just generally, life's challenging, life's busy, life's hard.
But I mean, we do, and I am a victim, or not a victim. I'm a big culprit of sometimes comparing myself to other people, and we do that to our own detriment. So sometimes you can compare yourself to someone else's level of fitness, or you know, I could look at someone doing a forward fold, which is how I got into yoga in the first place. I was like, I just want to be able to touch my toes, and look at someone and go, I'm never going to be able to do that. Or I could just show up for 10 minutes every day and give it a try, and then eventually I'm able to do it. Or on the way, I've found that, you know what, not only just trying to do and achieve this, I actually feel so much better about so many other things. So I think, you know, that very, very, like, running through all of this conversation is do something small, but know that you enjoy it and you love it and it's for you, and then it'll just increase because you'll feel good.
And I think, like, find your people is a big thing. So if you're quite self-motivated, awesome, you know, crack on, do your thing. It's, you know, I applaud it. Wow. But there's a reason that I went to a CrossFit gym, because for everything that I do, I actually find it really hard to just go to a gym and train on my own. It's not something that excites me. So when I was looking at things I wanted to do, places I wanted to go, I knew some friends that already went to this gym, and I said, oh, you know, how is it? What's the vibe like? You know, do you think I'd fit in? You know, because I always think, like, no matter who you are or how trained you are or how fit you are, there is always an element of, is it my kind of place? And I think that's a massive thing. And to me, that I found a CrossFit gym where it's a community of people that come together for an hour a day. They have different time slots. You show up for your session, and you know people's names, and you then learn what their jobs are, and then you find out, you know, what their family life is like, or who their family are, and lo and behold, their wife comes on a different night, and then, you know, and their sister comes on another day, and their brother comes on, and you suddenly start building this network of people around you that are your people, that are there for very much the same reason. They're there maybe because they needed to find a place where they fit in. They needed to go to a place where they could bounce off other people and have energy in a room. And
Yes.
I think when we talk about fitness, actually what's more important is finding your people. Find an instructor that you vibe from, that, if you want to be chilled out, they chill you out. And if you want someone that's going to make you laugh in a class, make sure you go to someone that's funny. I know it sounds really obvious, but I think, that's what actually makes it a long-term, achievable long-term, is when you find your people and you find your thing. And actually, I would even argue that, you're a yoga boy, but if you found a Pilates teacher and a community of people that you felt comfortable in, you'd probably be a Pilates person.
Probably, yes.
And I think because that has more of a game changer than sometimes what the actual activity is. Because sometimes people just need other people.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes we forget that we all just want to belong to something bigger than ourselves, and we are community beings. We belong in communities, we belong with other people, and to be with like-minded people that are all interested in a similar goal, or the same thing but a different goal it's so rewarding. Like, and even, we get that from so many different ways, whether it's the same, really enjoying the same Netflix series that's streaming at the moment that everybody's talking about, being able to engage in a conversation about that, make somebody feel like they're part of something. And that is something that we need to realize belongs in so many different areas of our own life.
Oh God, yeah. Find your tribe. That's one of my favorite sayings. Find your tribe. And then when you found your tribe, it's so much easier. You look forward to doing things.
When I speak to the kids in the school, we always say to them, you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. So who are they? And are they good for you? And if they're not, then you need to change it. So,
I love that. Starting from the ground up.
Yeah, well, when you go into schools, you have to learn new ways of telling them and talking to them, and it's actually really fun. So, I have to ask you, you are growing a mustache. It's far more impressive than mine.
Trying. It's going okay, actually. Although, I'm getting various reactions, as I'm sure you do, is when people don't see you. And the reactions are actually kind of more fun. It's more of a purpose to do Movember.
Is this a new thing?
It's always been there. I don't know what you mean.
What I really love, and I say this so many times when I'm like talking to people, is that it gives you an opportunity to have a conversation with somebody. If you see someone with a mustache, you can talk to them and go, hey, what are you growing it for? What's your motivation for Movember? And hopefully when you ask somebody openly, they don't say, I've always had this. What are you talking about? But, my motivation, and certainly the introduction I got to Movember last year following testicular cancer, was I felt like I had I had like permission to ask people, hey, who are you growing your mustache for? What are you growing it for? What was your motivation for Movember? So what was your motivation for Movember?
Well, I hate to make you really big-headed here, but I will always remember the post that you put on Facebook when you
really
kind of told the world. And I just remember sitting back and thinking, wow, that guy's got, forgive the pun, some balls. Because I just thought that takes some real kind of gut-wrenching strength to throw that out there to the world, really.
Yeah.
And I think I kind of put, I don't know, a little bit of an empath in that way. You kind of reverse it back on yourself, and you think, how would I react to that? How would I deal with that? And like, we're similar age, and I kind of think, wow, and I just kind of think, and now I obviously, off the back of that, I follow you on Instagram more, and I'm kind of up to date with what's going on, and I see your messaging that you're putting out. And again, like we both said, we both put a similar kind of thing out on social media and have kind of a similar thought process on. And I kind of think with what you've put out there, it gives people that purpose to kind of think, yeah, I'm going to get on board with this. I'm going to spread this word because, you know, one person can't do it themselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, if one person can get one person, can get one person, can get, you know, 10
Yeah.
eventually. You know, that's what it's
I
all
really
about.
appreciate you saying that. Like, that means a lot. Like, you know, last year, a lot of people I came face to face with it, said, I'm growing it because of your story. And I really appreciate it. This year, you know, I've met loads of different people throughout the year. So to hear you say that, that really means a lot. And I know I've had times where I've looked back on that video and clips of it and gone, wow, you really were quite brave. Because, you know, I don't know whether I
Yeah,
was crazy or brave. And at the time I did have 2 testicles. So, you know, maybe I did have the balls to do it. So, but
yeah. But
I would do it
I
all
just,
again. I would do it all again if
yeah.
I knew it would have the impact it's had. So,
Yeah, I mean, absolutely worth it. And I think actually now, more than anything, like you kind of said at the top of this, it's a case of the positivity that's behind that now, and it's the kind of the energy and what you're trying to put across to people and share with the world, and the information that's out there, and the support network, and it's just that total umbrella of what's going out there to people. And I kind of think for you, it's something that you should be so proud of, because I think a lot of people maybe have the intention to do it, but it never quite materializes. And I think
oh yeah,
you kind of made it happen. You know,
yeah.
it's now kind of like front and center, and that's kind of plain as day to see, really.
Yeah. It's interesting because before all of that last year, I was brave enough to start Live at 5 in 2020, and I put a lot of different messaging out there. But I have so many videos on my phone that I've like filmed whilst I've been walking, or I filmed them like, you know, in full production, like a ring light and stuff, and just never had the courage to put it out into the world. And there was just there's just this tiny moment where you allow the negative voice or the voice of
Yeah,
reason to pop in and maybe convince you to just go for it, or just or retract it. And I think I listened to that voice a little bit more, knowing that I was brave enough to listen to it before. So it's given me more of a reason to post more of that stuff and put more of that messaging out. And even if it is just a thought in my head, to kind of go, you know what, if it goes on a story, it's only going to be there for 24 hours and then it'll be gone. If it does well and people like it and respond to it, I'll download it and I'll put it as a post. And it's about realizing that sometimes the thing that you do say, or the video that you put up, or the exercise that you do, will connect with somebody. And
yeah,
all we're trying to do is get that message, for, well, certainly for me with Movember, is to get that message into one person's head. If one person watches a video and checks their balls and does something about something they find, then that's it, job done. The fact that we can get more than that, doing more stuff than that, is an absolute bonus.
I mean, just as like a reason to keep doing it is
Mm.
I shared a post today just on Facebook, something I saw. You know, we see these things all the time. I read it, it kind of struck a chord. I shared it out there as a suicide prevention post, and then you know, someone I know commented underneath, "I'm not good right now,"
Mm.
and I was just like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'm really glad that you said that," and I think I obviously put a little bit more than just that. But
Yeah.
I think the crux of what I'm getting to is sometimes it is just that one post that opens that door for someone, that kind of gives them that kind of green light to say, I'm not good right now.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
think, you know, just going back to what you said, just those daily posts, those fleeting thoughts, those silly moments, those things you don't know whether they really are, you know, worth putting out there. You don't know that that's not going to be the door to someone. And I
Yeah.
think that has to take priority over kind of our egos,
Mm.
essentially.
Yeah.
And I mean, I put on not long ago, I took a massive hiatus from Instagram, and just took time out and just to reevaluate what I was trying to put out there. And that was when I decided I'm not going to keep record things 5 or 6 times until I think it looks good enough for Instagram anymore. I'm
Yeah.
going to just set my camera up, do something and post it. And if people like it, awesome. If they don't, well, guess what? It's my Instagram, not yours. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And try and be as real as you can for yourself, so that when you look back on it, because I think the rawness of my video last year makes me feel even more proud that I wasn't even in a mindset of, is that good? Did I stumble on a word? I had an intention when I pressed record to deliver a message. When I finished delivering it, I thought, okay, that's good enough. So then I just need to blurb it into some words underneath and then just send it out into the world. And I think that mentality with posting stuff has paid off for me more times than when I've overproduced myself. Anytime I've ever overly edited a video or started it and deleted the first draft and tried to recreate that intention, it's never really landed because it's becoming a little bit more produced, and people follow you and follow your business because they want you in your full authenticity.
Yeah, and I just think we've got to own it, haven't we? For everything about it, you know, you kind of have to, like, for me, I'm not the biggest, muscliest fitness guy. I don't walk around with a six-pack. I'm over that now. I just kind of think, I'm really happy with the way I am, and I'm good with that, and what I put out there is what I put out there, and I might put something out there that looks awesome. I might put something out there that just, you know, ends up with me falling on my backside, but that's fine because, you know, here, look, you just saw me made that mistake. I'm probably going to try not and do that again. But I probably will 3 or 4 more times. And exactly. I think you just have to own the good and the bad. And I love that there seems to be a drive at the moment for authenticity, like you just said. There seems to be a real kind of gear shift at the moment where people are kind of starting to realize that it's better just to kind of take the pressure cooker off and just put out there you. And people are okay with that. People quite like you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why they follow you. And you might be the only account of its kind that they follow. So, you know, you and I probably follow a lot of similar accounts to what we deliver, what we put out, what we work towards. But I might be the only person, you might be the only person that somebody follows you on that they get that message from.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it has to be real.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's been so good chatting to you. I think we could go on for a lot longer.
Yeah, probably. But
I would really like it if it doesn't take another 10 years, but if we could manage to meet up in real life soon, that would be really cool.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Maybe I'll come to a Pilates class.
No, don't say that. I won't let you forget it now.
I'll be converted. I'll turn my back on yoga. I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everybody on Live at 5, which is, when is the last time you checked your balls, George?
Last night.
Good. That's
in the
preparation for today.
In the bath, if you need the detail.
I like the details. That's where people do it. In the shower, in the bath, afterwards. I like it because your Instagram yesterday was like all the things that I got done today, and I was loving it. And I was like, he was like haircut, he was like this, that, and the other, and I was like, I hope he's checked his balls.
Next time, just for you.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for doing this. We will definitely have a catch up soon, and we'll do this again in the future. But yeah, have a good evening, and thank you for growing a mustache for me and all of the other people that you are shining a beacon of light for.
No worries. Thank you. Keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome. We love it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for joining Live at 5. If you're watching it on repeat, then let us have a little comment or a like and let us know what you thought of George sharing his story, my story, and everything that we talked about. We would love to hear from you. And remember that if you are getting involved in Movember, whether you're growing a mustache, running a mile, diving into the deep blue sea in the early hours of the morning, wow, I am in awe of you. You're amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. And remember, keep an eye on your noggin and check your balls as well. And look after yourselves and each other. And I'll see you next week for another Live at 5 here.